Thank you for watching this channel, and I hope that you're finding these videos useful. I've got a couple of ideas. I think today I was umming and ahhing about what I kind of make a video about right now, and then I sort of decided, you know, why not just put the phone on, just put the camera on, because otherwise I was actually, you know, trying to listen back to a couple of conversations that I'd had over WhatsApp with some people recently. So, you know, I don't want to do that when I'm driving every time. So I thought it'd be a good idea to swap it out and just make a video instead. Just so I'm not like driving and trying to do that. What to talk about? I suppose maybe something that's quite interesting to me, and it's something that affects everybody really, is cars. I'm a car salesman, I've said before. I really like where I work as well, I've said that before too. I think there's a couple of things with cars at the moment that a lot of people rub up against and don't like, and I think that there's a kind of this is something that I'm guilty of, and now I'm having sort of second thoughts about it. But there's a tendency to, so in my mind, there's sort of sections of the population that will say, you know, things just aren't what they used to be. So that's your sort of section of the population that thinks that, you know, if it's old, it's better, if it's new, it's shit. There's certainly some things where that's the case. I'm driving a brand new car at the moment. Where I work, you get a demonstrator car, and I'm never ever going to complain about that. You know, when I started at this job, I was driving around a Toyota Yaris. I think if you live in the US, they were called the Toyota. I know at some point they were called like the Geo Metro, and then after that they were called the Toyota. I don't fucking know. Tiny car. Anyways, so I was driving a 900-pound Toyota Yaris to work every day, and spending about £150 in fuel, and each month, just to get me to and from work. So about a £5 a day, I guess, averaging out. And then I got put into basically a brand new C3 Aircross, which is a Citroen, and that was a big upgrade. I think maybe it's because of most of the cars that I've had in my life, I've never spent more than £1,500 on a car, ever. We recently bought my wife, so I helped her find the car, but she paid for it. She spent £3,000 on a Honda Accord. Now in the UK, the Honda Accord that we got for that model year, which is late 2012, early 2013, in America you guys will have got as the Acura TLX. And you could also get it here with a 2.2 diesel engine, which is a brilliant engine. And you know what, that car is fucking brilliant. We spent £3,000 on it, and it's the sort, like, if I spend £3,000 on something, I want it to last like 10 years. That's not an exaggeration. I really want that thing to last like 10 years. In my life, I've never, the most amount of money I've ever spent on a car was £1,400, and quite a lot of times I think overall I haven't lost money on cars. I've always bought a car, sold it for maybe like most of them I made money on. One or two I probably broke even on, or, you know, well, I say broke even, obviously I had to pay for like taxing it, insuring it and driving it, but actually the chassis, I didn't lose any money on that. And then maybe one or two I lost 100 quid on or something like that. When I actually started trading cars like myself, there were a couple that I made over £1,000 on. Most of them I probably made something like £600 to £800 on, and then there was one bit where things slowed down. I lost a bit of money on a car as well. That was kind of frustrating. I lost £1,000 on something, but actually on balance, I'd say that I've made quite a lot of money overall. I say quite a lot. I've probably made a couple of grand, maybe not 10 grand, but potentially I'd say more than 5, less than 10, on all the cars that I've ever had. And that to me is a bit of a life hack. I do think that older cars are a bit of a life hack. So I am a car salesman, and obviously that means that I sell quite a lot of cars. I've just said that I've never bought a car, like our household has never had a car worth more than £3,000. And all the cars that I've had, I've gotten out of within about 6 months. My wife, her first car, I think we bought for £800, ran it for a good year and a half, maybe almost 2 years, and then scrapped it for 200 quid. And the thing is with my wife, because she has her own business and she uses her cars for the business a lot, because you can claim back in this country 45p a mile for like driving around and stuff like that for business use. She almost doesn't even necessarily need to like make a thing. Like she could probably give them away when she ends with them and still have probably quote unquote turned a profit, i.e. saved more in a tax bill at the end of the year than otherwise. So it's the car, like old cars. So selling something like that for her would almost be icing on the cake. I think she got like an £800 car for her first car, which I helped her buy. Then we drove maybe 50 miles or something like that. Picked up a Ford C-Max, which still works, and we still have, because she only recently got this Honda, and we bought that for like 1,100 quid. We had to do maybe 150 quid worth of work to it. And then this Accord we bought for £3,000, and unfortunately we weren't meant to spend any more money on it once we bought it, but it's needed a few bits. It's not the end of the world. It's a really fucking solid car. We still have that C-Max as well, so we're yet to sell it. She's probably been able to claim back more, like on a tax bill, more than what she bought it for. Because again, 45p a mile, you spend £1,000 on the car, you can claim back like 3,000 miles on your tax bill. You're more than good at that point. So I think that's really quite good. The nice thing about old cars is that a lot of people will say, oh, old cars were better. I don't know about that. I think that there is definitely an element of survivorship bias. If you talk to your parents as well, if they're normal people and they don't have that sort of like all old cars are better outlook on things, they will probably tell you that like it used to just be so common to, on a motorway drive every day, just see a car on the side of the road broken down. That used to be just the thing that was really common. Whereas nowadays it's not really something you see. It's something that if I maybe see like a couple of times a week, but it used to apparently be something that you saw all the time. I think on balance, cars have gotten more reliable, they've gotten better. I mean, they've certainly gotten safer, they've gotten more interfering, which is a bit annoying, and I think that's going the other way. That's going to make drivers worse, because if you're a first-time driver, you're learning to drive, and you've got this distracting car that's beeping at you and like moving a steering wheel when you move out the lane, or beeping at you when you drive too fast, I don't think that creates a good driver. I think to be a good driver, you've got to be able to think for yourself, basically, and that's not teaching you to think for yourself. That's teaching you to just kind of act on just act on like stimuli. Whereas I think to be a good driver, you have to be awake at the wheel pretty much, rather than just having the car do all the driving for you. So yeah, I don't know about new cars necessarily being better. They are almost definitely more reliable as a whole, and they are almost definitely more safer as well. If you go out now though and spend £2,000 on a car that's 10, 15, maybe 20 years old, you buy a car from 2005, there's actually probably plenty of older diesel engined cars that are going to be going strong for a while, or some like older Toyotas and stuff. Yeah, there is an element of survivorship bias in that those cars have obviously been kept around this long. You're not looking at all the cars that are in the scrapyard, you're looking at all the cars that are around. Yeah, there's an element of that. But in my mind, there's a reason that, like, when you buy an old car, if you buy a 20-year-old car, I always think, well, there's a reason that car has got to be 20 years old. It was built well, it was obviously put together well, the build quality was good when it came out of the factory. It's obviously been, it's not been neglected, its servicing hasn't been neglected, it's had good owners, and it's if you look at an MOT history as well, you can usually tell, like, yeah, it's if you look at an MOT history and the same, I will say, to be fair, actually, if you look at an MOT history, you're seeing you see it that it virtually fails every year, then gets the minimum needed to pass it, and then it passes, and the next year it fails on something else. That's a car that is clinging onto life and is being run on a shoestring budget. I'd say 50% of the time those cars are about ready to die by the time you get them, because they are too neglected. The other 50% of the time, if you're actually willing to put in a little bit of effort and like revitalize it, it'll probably thank you for it in a funny way. I think that cars are weird a bit like that. They almost, I don't think that they have souls, but they almost do in a way, actually. Maybe they do have a sort of aura about them for, if you save them from a neglectful life, they either die in your arms, finally free, or they actually, pay you back, they thank you for it, like finding a stray dog. So that is to me kind of interesting that's anyways. So I've never in my life really lost money on cars. I'd say, like I say, overall, I've definitely made money on cars, and I could probably prove that if I wrote that down as well, pretty easily. I like cars as well a lot, and I think that older cars, like, right now, if you're listening to this video and you're sort of thinking to yourself that I've made a point or two there about older cars, if you also ever want to get into like working on your own car and forming a bond with the stuff that you own by working on your own car, I can highly recommend buying an older car, because it is actually very nice to put back together old Volvos, old Toyotas and Lexuses. I've never done a Subaru, but Subarus and things like that I think are quite a nice idea. I'd quite like to get my hands on a Forester. You know what, again, at trade price. I never want to buy a project and pay a retail price for it. I don't think that's sensible. But I think that buying, like, forming a bond with your stuff is something that we've really missed out on. People don't really maintain their own houses anymore, and then we end up with like poor quality new build homes. We end up with shitty absentee landlords, and I actually think it's because people have lost that connection with their dwellings, with their houses. We are more inclined to, in a world like today, just be far more specialised rather than be a bit of a repairman for our own lives. We're incentivized to be far more specialised, and that often results in, if your door in your house drops, or your toilet's funny, or you've got a wiring issue, you just call somebody. No, I can't be asked to deal with it, I'll just call somebody. Like, there's a wealth of information out there, And if you aren't afraid of looking at it and tackling it, you can handle quite a few simple things in your house or in your car. I'd say again that like a very modern car sometimes can throw a wobbly, even for simple things like brake changes. But you don't need to overthink it every single time. That's the truth of it. You don't need to overthink what you might. You don't need to overthink looking up a YouTube video and deciding to tackle a plumbing problem that you've had for a while or something like that. By all means, though, make sure your boiler is serviced by someone who knows what they're doing. Don't just look up how to service my boiler. That is something that takes a bit of time, right? You can service your car though. I think servicing your car is pretty easy. Big channels, if you want to get into cars as well, big channels like Chris Fix and stuff like that are a really, really good place to start. Again, you should want to develop a connection to the stuff that makes your life your life. You shouldn't want to that makes your life better, actually. If you have a poor life, I don't think you should maybe want to develop a connection to food, drugs, or your phone. But if you are wanting to sort of come along on the journey that a lot of people are taking now, of taking action on phone and screen addiction, getting out of the brain rot rut, and doing more reading, doing more physical things, treating being offline as a status symbol, then a car is a really good place to start. Now, know your limits. Don't go and watch Sam Crack or Tavarish or something like that and think to yourself that you can tackle a flood damaged RS7. Really bad idea. If you right now have a little bit of an old banger and you think and you're spending, let's say you've got a car that it was your first time drive a car. Here's a good actual thing for you. Let's say that you've got your first car right now. You're still driving around in your first car and it's getting a little creaky, it's getting a little old and things like that. And you're taking it to the mechanic, you're just sort of keeping it alive, but it's not. You have it in the back of your mind that you're going to have to change soon, and you almost feel like you're not sure if you can afford to change it. The first thing I want you to do is clean your car. If you are one of those people with McDonald's wrappers in your footwell and everything like that, your car is not being looked after, and you will probably not being. You won't be driving it properly. You won't be looking after it properly, and when it gives you an issue, you might be ignoring it because you treat it as a bin, right? So think about just look at your car at the moment and wonder to yourself, is this something that I could clean? The best advice I can give you is to clean your own car first. Clean it, wash it, take care of it. If it's like clean the wheels, clean the brake dust off them and everything like that. Give it spend a day or maybe even a weekend really cleaning out your car. And when you sit in it, and when you sit in a newly cleaned car, it's quiet. It's a very odd sensation, but when you sit in a newly cleaned car, it's quieter. From there, just, if your mechanic has been saying to you, this might need to be done soon, this might need to be done soon, I probably wouldn't start with anything like engine work. I wouldn't start with let's see. I wouldn't start with like springs or suspension or anything like that. And I probably wouldn't start with like a modification or anything like that too. If you, on the other hand, have been told, maybe at last MOT, or you've been told recently, your brakes don't sound good. Brakes are quite a good thing to start with. If that sounds like a little bit of a big thing, because obviously it's a big safety thing, and you might be thinking to yourself, I'm really not sure, then that is totally okay. And I will speak for anybody who's even slightly into cars and does like their own work when I say we all will totally understand that if you go, I don't really want to start off with my brakes because it's my first thing and it's obviously a very important component. Totally fine. Maybe the first place for you to start is a pollen filter or an air filter, okay? Just opening up your engine bay, seeing what's under there, and just replacing your pollen filter. Just look up your car's make and model and just say replace air filter or something like that. Really, really good place to start. After that, servicing your own car. This is all stuff that's going to save you 100 to 150 quid a time. More, in fact. Buying your own service kit, which is oil and filter most of the times. If you do a major service, then, you know, and you buy a pollen filter or something like that as well, then okay, slightly different. But buying your own service kit for £55, 60 quid, £100 if you really spend and get a big major service kit with fuel filters in it and everything like that. I don't know if that's where I'd start. I would maybe start off on the very basics of getting a wrench or some sockets and the ability to remove your oil filter, and also the ability to replace your own oil. So just buy yourself like 6 litres of oil and you know, your grade of oil, which is extremely easy to find out. You know, what oil does my car take? Just get 6 litres of it. Look up a video on how to service your car. It's such a good, easy place to start. Really, really good place to start. Doing your air and pollen filters, doing your oil filter and your oil, and then taking it from there. Like really, really, and that will give you a connection to your car that you don't get. Project cars are sometimes not a great thing to start off with if this is the first thing that you want to do. So I would often, you know, I would maybe recommend, if you're, like I say, if you're driving around a little bit of an older car right now, I would maybe say that rather than going out right now and buying a buggered old BMW 330i, you ought to just start in your own, you know, Renault Clio or whatever you're driving at the moment. There we go. And you will form a really, really good bond to your car. It's a really, really rewarding process. I'll talk more about cars on the drive home, but guys, thank you so much for watching.